Humanities subjects at Key Stage 3 are often taught independently of each other. So how can you help pupils to begin to understand the interlinkages between them? At Uplands Community College in East Sussex, they're using the opportunity of a field trip to local town Lewes to help their Year 7 pupils with this. The organiser of today's trip is Head of Geography, Christine Stuken.
The main objectives really of going on this trip are to ensure that students understand what humanities is all about. It's about people and places and the interlinkages between them. And I think because we do teach them separately in most schools, when you get the opportunity to go on a trip where all three can be brought in, then the students can obviously experience religion, sociology, geography, RE and history all sort of bound together.
This programme then offers a useful example of how a school trip can be planned and run to support Key Stage 3 humanities students. And to offer some handy tips and expert observations on the whole process, we hear from President of the Humanities Association, Steve Johnson.
Well, I think all good humanities field trips need to be part of a learning process. And the students who go on the trip need a real sense of purpose, sense of mission. They need to be going out as young investigators, find something out that they're going to enjoy telling other people about.
First stop is the castle, where pupils investigate Lewes historically, but also begin to see the overlap with geography, looking at why the castle was built where it was.
If you look on your worksheet, there's some questions. A lot of that information you'll be able to find from the town model and from some of the information boards which are up there. So you've got to climb all the way up there. So first of all then, we'll go out the gate again and up there to the Barbican.
The planning that the teachers will have to do would be to obviously make sure the students understand the purpose and the function of the trip, so that once they're there, they're not asking hundreds of questions immediately, but they have something to start with, and then they can build up their own ideas from it.
OK, you're attacking the castle, you've just got through the Barbican. Brilliant, well done. There's now some gates here, and those walls are built up there, and what's happening to you lot? You're all being killed, because this is known as the killing ground. Why is it called the killing ground?
Because you get killed.
It's where you get killed, because there's some gates here, and you can't get through them. And these walls go right up there, and there's a ceiling with what in? Murder holes. And what are people doing from up there? Just in case you do manage.
You can see here that the teacher talking to the students about the castle isn't just imparting information. He's also drawing out understanding through his use of questioning, and he's really doing that very well. He's very sensitive to the level the students are at currently. So the really important thing is for the teacher to get out of tour guide mode.
Yeah. What do you notice about it, about that mound? OK, apart from the fact it's got lots of vegetation and flowers and things and bushes.
It's got a hill.
It's a hill. Is it a steep hill?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a steep hill?
So you'll be able to see where the people are coming from.
So you can see where people are coming from. What if you wanted to run up there very fast to attack them?
You won't be able to.
It's very difficult. It's very steep. Yeah, good. And that's what you've got to draw.
On here?
Yeah.
Sometimes field sketches, although very valuable, I'm not absolutely sure doing sketches in this way is a good use of these students' time. One thing that some schools have done on field trips is to issue small groups of children with a disposable camera, limited number of shots, and give the students a real sense of purpose. They've got to be very careful about which shots they take.
OK, can you come round this side please so I can see you? There will be some sort of prize, like a merit. How generous is that?
A merit.
For a merit, possibly even 2 or 3. For the first person who can tell me where in here there used to be a well. Yeah. How do you know?
Because it's got the village.
A tree over it.
Because it's got a tree over it. OK, what you're going to do now You'll notice from question 4 onwards, it's all about this bit, okay? You've seen the view, and you need to think, why is it that they built the castle here? Now, Lewis... Because this is a humanities visit, we have an RE aspect, a geography aspect, and a history aspect, and this visit to the castle is the history aspect, which then we tie into the other 2 aspects of the visit. For example, why is the castle built where it is? Okay, you can see the view from here, though, can't you? Yeah? What does that suggest about why the castle was built here?
To defend the river.
Yeah.
The village.
And the village. And how far can you see?
A really long way.
A really long way. So what can you see if somebody's going to attack the castle? When can you see them?
2 days before they...
2 days before they get here. Ages before they get here. Yeah? Good. Okay.
It's important for the students to see the overlaps between the different humanities subjects. For example, why the castle located where it was, which is the sort of, I suppose, the history side, and then also down from the geography, which is the land use transition over time. So they will be required to use skills which they may not have used before in order to understand the linkages between them.
Just wait here.
She needs to...
First thing that I'm going to ask you to do is something that you're not normally given the opportunity to do, and that is to come into a place to sit in stillness, in silence, to do nothing more than be aware of what's happening around us, of the church, and why people come off the busy road and into a place like this. You will only be able to answer that question, begin to answer that question, by sitting in silence, by feeling the stillness, and by being very aware of what's going on. We'll do this exercise for 5 minutes.
The behaviour of the students, I think, is really interesting. There are some who, when they're in the confines of 4 walls in the classroom, find it difficult to concentrate. I think take them out and they experience something firsthand, and they can be very, very interested. And I think that's part of the beauty of doing a trip like this, is that it often gives those students who find it difficult to be in a classroom for an hour something really quite stimulating.
The first activity that I need you to do when you get these worksheets is to put down in words what you've experienced in those 5 minutes. It's about being honest. You felt calm, put down calm. You felt relaxed, put down relaxed. You felt bored, you write down bored. We actually got a number of people writing their accounts of their experience and saying how different it was, how much they felt relaxed, felt still, quiet, and they understood therefore why people actually want to come off the street and come into buildings like this. And it worked, and for that reason it worked. I want you to look at 5 different articles of faith, or 5 things, 5 objects within this church, and to suggest how these things help people to worship. So, for instance, your first object might be the candles. So you'd write under number 1, candles. Next to that, how do candles help people to worship? They provide people with calm.
Stained glass windows help because they tell the stories to people that can't read, and statues because they help the spirits of God and Jesus.
I'll put dim lights, candles, and the quiet make it peaceful and will make them feel calm.
I've got no water in it.
Maybe just at the front.
Varying the skills of the day was a really important aspect we wanted to put some emphasis on. So we got them to take responsibility for their own learning. We asked them to work in groups to share ideas, first of all, for different aspects of the day. And also just to talk in groups as well. And then to really imagine the way that life would have been then.
Can't tell.
You can't tell. Can you feel it? Does it feel calming? Does it make you feel calm?
Like Roman people fighting.
Teachers must be carefully prepared, and often that means not trying to do too much, not too many objectives, not too many things happening at once as far as the students are concerned when they get out into the field. Otherwise there's room for a lot of confusion and possibly a lot of tiredness towards the end of the process.
When you're breathing, see what you can smell.
Bread.
Bread? That's okay, the bread's good.
The trip that we've done today fits into the curriculum by, for example, with RE, it's how sort of religion and spirituality can manifest itself in historic buildings and icons and so on. And then with history, it falls into looking at the castle fit nicely into a unit on medieval realms and how the defensive site was generated in that particular area. With geography, we do a whole unit on settlement and how patterns change across time, and then how the resulting land uses evolve. So that's how looking at the historic town of Lewes will fit into geography.
Right, now this is a land use map of the sort of region that we're in. Now what you've got to do is you've got to orientate your map to make it easier to understand. To help you, there's the Riverside Cafe. You need to have your map like this to make it easier for you. You've got to label the land use features of this region. Now what I mean by that is, well, what is the land used for? And you've got some ideas at the bottom here on the key. Your next bit you've got to do is answer these questions. And the first one then says write down 3 features of the buildings that indicate that Lewes is an old town. So how would you know then, what sort of things might give it away that it's an old town? Hands up. Wait, just one hands up. Paige.
Old windows and small doors.
Right, fantastic. Old windows, small doors. That sort of thing. You can tell by what it's made out of. Is it made out of brick or wood? Modern day buildings would be more likely to be made out of brick, for example. Okay?
Describe 3. Right.
3 ways it is different.
Yeah, they're just about small window.
One of the tests of whether the field work's really working for the students is to ask who's working hardest, the teachers or the students. The teachers clearly have prepared very well. Some of the information sheets they've produced are of extremely high quality.
So you've got, when was it built?
Yeah.
You have to write down when this was built?
Yeah, so you've got to look out where it's built. Where would it be built?
I mean, when or where?
When? There's
When?
there's something saying when it was built.
Have a look on the door.
What is the sign thing here?
Where? And I invested with the people.
Hey, it's on top of sundial.
Sundial.
Oh, 1824.
1824.
There needs to be a differentiated approach, and often that works best when students are placed in groups. The group here, you can see that they're working really very well together indeed. They appear to be of similar ability, they're supporting one another well. It's also possible that a student perhaps with less knowledge and understanding of the field trip could have been linked with them, so they could have given that student a little bit of support.
Now we have to go to Fitzroy House. Fitzroy House. On the left.
Lewes is perfect for your humanities field trip. I mean, it's got everything. It's got obviously the castle, it's got the history, it's got obviously the church, and also its location. It's a very old town. What we're going to be doing is just some follow-up work. It really fits in nicely to what we're doing in the settlement. So we're going to pick like one particular part of the activity and we'll get them into group work, and then they do presentations and poster presentations or oral presentations to feedback on what they actually learnt during the time here. Should be 44 of you. We don't want to leave any of you here.
I think the key is to make sure that there's a real focus to a field trip, that students have a sense of purpose, that they have a manageable part of the investigation to carry out with their group, and that there isn't too much to do.
I think a key tip for any teachers that would like to do something like this is to plan it all together. Go down to the place that you would like to carry out this field work. Really work as a team, discuss any possible overlaps which would be repetitive during the day, and also equally the ones which you would find really beneficial for students to understand the interlinkages. And something like this will hopefully get them to see the subjects rather than separate entities but as one.